Hey guys, All in Crypto here, and welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, for another YouTube video. Hopefully, you've all had a wonderful weekend. You have presenting rather a tired All in Crypto in front of you, presenting this daily cryptocurrency market update. It's been a very busy start of the year for me because, of course, we've been positioning for our 2023 outlook, which you can find out more about through joining my group. But I did say that actually I would reveal what I've done or part of what I've done next week, and I still will do that in regards to whether maybe we've bought, whether we've maybe sold more crypto, you know, where I'm at in terms of an investor and in terms of somebody who's looking to kill these markets in terms of getting it right. As a long-term investor, as a believer in the cryptocurrency market. You guys will know that we stayed largely out of the market all last year. We essentially were very right on that call. It was probably the best trade that we made, was getting out of the markets back in March when Bitcoin was around about 44K. And we said right at the start of the year that we're not actually that bearish here. And actually, not only are we not necessarily bearish, doesn't mean that we're bullish. We're just more agnostic and looking for the market to reveal itself, to play its hand. And that's what we've got. And whether we manage to catch this or not, this isn't a video bragging. I will reveal next week. And I will actually be making an altcoin or a video on a certain altcoin tomorrow with proof of what we may or may not have done. Just to kind of give people a heads up of where I'm at. Because I did say I'd let you guys know exactly where it was that I was buying or when I'd get back into the markets. And that's exactly what I'll do. And if you want more in-depth sort of guide on that, you can, of course, join my Patreon. It's not for everybody. It's a very crypto investment focused group of like-minded individuals that are looking to really capitalize off the cryptocurrency market moving forwards. And we've done that very well all of last year. And of course, we've actually potentially hinting at something here, done quite well at the start of this year. But I will reveal a lot more on that next week in terms of our overall investment thesis and where we're at and how we're looking to play the markets. So how do you feel, guys? You know, do you feel like you've missed out? Do you feel like maybe you've caught a lot of this? Do you feel like you should have bought? You could have bought? You know, what's the kind of general sentiment that you guys have? And like I say, I will reveal mine next week. But we have said, and we kind of almost mocked the bears down here, saying you're very late to the party. And that actually looking at the entire macro situation, it doesn't necessarily pay you to be as bearish as I think many people were before this rally. And we kind of got that call very right. I've got an earlier tweet than this from the start of the year, but this is a thread that I released before the CPI, looking at the sort of macro markets where we're at and relating it to the crypto space. And I want to go through this because it only got 19 likes. This doesn't get the appreciation that it deserves whatsoever. And I want to kind of go through it and look at my thoughts and kind of where we were at before this rally really took place. You know, Bitcoin was at 17,400 when I made this. It's currently now at nearly 21K. So Bitcoin is up from this nearly 20%. Altcoins have gone significantly higher. And I want to go through this and show you. I'm on a crusade of truth, guys. I want to hold that pillar of righteousness in terms of a content creator. You know, we give it to you as raw as it comes, whether it upsets you or it doesn't. Last year, we upset a lot of people by saying we were getting out the market, and we lost a lot of following as a result of it because people marry an ideology. I've learned through making all the mistakes in the books, I'm not holier than thou, that actually marrying an ideology, if you're an investor and you're here to make money, you need to be very flexible in terms of how you navigate and play the markets. And I just want to go through this tweet that we tweeted. This is before the CPI, before the pump, and bearing in mind, guys, actually, in terms of my group, we were positioned before I'd even released this thread and spoken about everything in here in a lot more detail before this had even been released. But there was a lot of alpha in this thread that just got totally unnoticed. And if you had listened to everything that I had said from the start of the year, rather than listening to these people that are claiming they've called the bottom, even though they called the bottom all last year from 69K to now, eventually they're going to be right. We're not saying this is the bottom. What we're saying is we're humble enough to admit that we don't know where the bottom's going to be. But we're going to increase our probabilities of catching it through taking a number of stabs at potentially hitting it. So whether we've done that or not, I'll reveal next week. But let's go through this tweet because there was some real alpha in here that I think people just completely missed. Like I say, guys, I'm pretty tired, hence the hood up. I don't, I've not actually long got out of bed. This is the first lie-in I've had in a long time, knowing that, the ship's sort of taken off somewhat. But what we're essentially looking at here, I'll read the tweet. It's a thread, and then you guys can sort of, or I'll leave you to your Saturdays. Some thoughts on where the cryptocurrency market is. RSI Div, which stands for diversion, for Bitcoin, has been saying this since the start of the year. After being out of the market for most of 2022, that we are no longer bearish, but also not necessarily bullish, more neutral and looking for the market to show its hand. So we were highlighting this bullish divergence for Bitcoin. And we were saying that this needs to be taken seriously. This is before the pump, by the way, guys. And this was the last sort of major divergence you had for Bitcoin, which was a bearish one. Some people don't like RSIs. I like the RSI to look at on a big time frame, because it can show you that a trend is vulnerable, or it can show you that a trend is in full swing and strong, and there's a lot of commitment behind it. And what this was showing us is that this downtrend actually was running out of commitment, and that you're either going to get a pullback. We've mentioned all this on other videos, or you were going to get some sort of a trend end. Now, I'm not saying that that's what we've got here and that's what this is. What I'm saying to you is that this needed to be taken seriously, and people just simply weren't. And we're highlighting this in the tweet. So the next part of the thread is USDT dominance. And we'll show you this and how it's progressed. We had actually mentioned that USDT dominance uptrend may be coming to an end. The correlation here, if people listen to what I'm saying, then there's a lot more than I think people realize I give on this channel. I know there were people sort of somewhat miffed that I was saying I would reveal my own personal positions next week, and that my Patreons already got it, and they were a little bit annoyed that that was the case, but that is the case. At the end of the day, I've been hinting largely at everything on a daily basis now for a while, and actually, if you've listened to what I've said, you may or may not have caught this. So just taking Bitcoin off the chart, this is the USDT dominance. So this is stablecoin dominance, essentially. USDT is the largest stablecoin. You've got this bearish div. This is to be taken seriously. So you put in lower highs on the RSI and higher highs on the price action, and look at how this has fallen. We have explained this. And you can see the correlation with Bitcoin. Bitcoin's top of the market perfectly coincided with this start of this uptrend for USDT. The next bit of the thread, we went on to say downtrending inflation, which is why the market sold off in the first place. The central banks tried to kill demand to bring in line with supply. That may be coming to an end in terms of them going much further, i.e. they're not going to up rates much more. Remember, we had, and I think I've even got it in this chart, looked at the 2-year yields. People largely just overlook this because it's boring financial information, but it all filters into making up your overall market analysis. And this was, obviously, this is before the CPI print, so they still had the consensus that it was going to come out at 6.5. We know now that it did. The next bit of the thread is the US 2-year yields leading Fed funds. 1.4 is the current active rate for the Fed funds. Meaning rates, if it has topped the 2-year yields at 4.8, don't have much higher to go, and markets likely have priced this in. So looking at the 2-year yields, getting rid of Bitcoin now, getting rid of the RSI because we don't need it. We're essentially saying that this leads inflation. So this leads the Fed funds. And, essentially if this is topped out here, it means the Fed fund rate doesn't have much higher to go at all. We've essentially said that we don't think it's got a point in it. And now what you'll notice is after the CPI print, they're now pricing in a 2.25 basis point rate hike, and things are a lot less hawkish as what they potentially have been. Doesn't mean there's not another bump in the road, just where we're currently at looking at things. So this kind of aligns this point that we made and the point prior, because you've got to remember markets are forward looking, and that actually if you look at we're saying that this has been priced in because the 30-day Fed's funds rate has rates at 4.7, we'll say. So they're estimating another 50 basis points basically, and now we might get another 225. So markets would have priced this in. This is the 30-day Fed funds futures. This is stuff that other YouTubers simply don't look at because they don't understand it. And this is the euro dollars, which actually was more aggressively pricing in over 5%. So we're saying that markets essentially are priced in what may now be coming down the road. The next thing that we said is I'm not calling a bottom here necessarily. I'm just not bearish as I once was. And as an investor and someone who intends to reinvest into what I believe is the most exciting space of our lifetime, blockchain, I am not going to get much sleep trying to figure all of this out. And then I essentially laughed. Main worry for me is now a demand-killing event over the sort of economic recession narrative and that driving markets low. It's still the case. The main worry for me is that there's a sort of March 2020 Lehman's moment that could be hiding somewhere. But we've positioned to hedge that as a probability as well as that not to be a probability, which is quite a hard thing to do. And you've got to really think and try and work this puzzle of a market out. So I actually think that the crypto market being so small stands a good chance, even if there is a recession, of being a growth sector and adding value to its total market cap, which is currently around 800 billion. Let's take a look at that and where we are total. We don't need the Fed funds. So that's now at nearly $1 trillion. At one point, it would have hit $1 trillion, in fact, or just shy of. So what we're highlighting here is even though we're in this shit time period, actually there's a point where people look at something and there's actual value there, and we've actually wiped off a lot of that hyped up value that was caused from the March 2020 printathon. And when does it get to a point when there's value? So that's my main worry, is we have another Lehman's March 2020. But personally here, I will hedge my bets as an investor. So we were alluding for free, you don't need to pay for this stuff. Other YouTubers don't give you this kind of alpha, that we were essentially hedging that. And also saying what that means for you guys is you need to make your own mind up and try and figure out this for now until I release my investment strategy at a later date. And that was kind of so we're highlighting a number of things. We're highlighting that interest rates, which is what has driven the markets to the downside, the worst is well and truly behind us. And that essentially, they've not got much further to go. So even if there was that slight bit more downside, we didn't think it would be much more. We've highlighted that the trend was in a weak point. This is all before the pump. It's all very well and good. And bearing in mind, this is late compared to what my group would have got. We've been looking at this stuff for literally months coming up to this thread. So what we're highlighting is that you've got a sign here that this trend is weakening. You've got macroeconomic reasons that show that actually there's a lot less reason for the market to continue to sell off, certainly in the degree that it has already. Based on everything that we've looked at, and we've got stable coins that we were looking at that I've not seen other people talk about. Now take for that what you will, and how are you feeling right now? If you're feeling FOMO, don't. If you feel like you've missed out, don't, because there's opportunities everywhere, guys. And if this was the bottom, which we've said we're not saying it is, we're not saying it's not, we're just saying we're agnostic, then let me tell you, ladies and gents, you've got a long way to go. You're still 69% down and you're beating all these YouTubers that call the bottom here, call the bottom here, call the bottom here, call the bottom here. You're at the same point. You're at basically June's lows. There's big community out there. Another big sort of rival YouTuber of mine was telling everyone to load up here, only for them to get smashed, in altcoins to get decimated. So there's still plenty of time ahead of you. So don't feel like you've missed out because you've not. We'll keep you right on this channel. Look out for my... It won't be an in-depth on exactly what I've bought, but it will be my overall sentiment on have I bought, have I not bought, where am I at, and is this the time to be going back and all in crypto? We had to swallow a real sort of pride pill last year with a channel called All in Crypto for actually coming out and saying we're in stablecoins, But one thing that markets have taught me is humility, that you need to be humble before the markets. And actually, since I've adopted that approach, I've started to do very well from them. That's all I've got in this video, guys. If you wanted to join my group, we've had a record number of signups this month. There's a link in the description. There are only 200 slots for now. It's not a sales pitch. It's not for everybody. It's £30 a month. I'm telling you straight off the bat. If you can't afford that, then stick with the free content. Because if you listen to what I say and actually pay attention rather than just emotionally commenting, you'll see that I leave you a very clear trail of breadcrumbs to follow. and we actually will release things, but slightly later than my group get, and maybe as not in as much detail. And of course, you don't get the weekly meetings when we look at the entire situation and piece the puzzle together. All I've got for you in this video, guys. You enjoyed the content, a like is always very much appreciated. So as a comment, and look forward to seeing each and every one of you in the next YouTube video. Have a wonderful weekend, guys. I'm going to go and get some more sleep and relax today. See you in the next one.